And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to introduce the official for this event. Representing the International Skating Union, please welcome the referee of the competition, James Amper. The final objective, judge number 1, Sandrine Isera, France. Judge number 2, United States of America. Judge number 3, Mateka Kourchevel, Czech Republic. Judge number 4, Prix, Republic of Korea. Judge number 5, Yerevan, Germany. Judge number 6, Sarah Riga, Great Britain. Judge number 7, Yerevan, Cyprus. Judge number 8, Vladimir Kukan, Slovakia. Judge number 9, Debor Kolesarski, Hungary. The technical panel, representing the International Skating Union Technical Controller, Sean Webster. Technical Specialist, Marie Wittenberg. Technical Specialist, Monica McDonald.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Egna, Neumark, Italy, the final event of the 2022 Junior Grand Prix Series. I'm your host, Ted Barton, and my colleague, Mark Hanratty, will be joining me from his home in Nottingham. There are 118 entries from 40 nations. This is day one of competition and the final opportunity to gain points toward the Junior Grand Prix final, so there is a lot of pressure. Today, we have two events, the rhythm dance, followed by the men's short program. We start with the rhythm dance, and there are 21 entries from 16 countries, with 3 teams in striking distance of qualifying for Torino. So the final stage is set, and the rhythm dance starts right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Egna, Neumark, Italy, with such a beautiful part of the world as we look at the Worth Arena here in the valley beside the spectacular river. What a wonderful place to have the final event of the 2022 Junior Grand Prix Series. I'm your host, Ted Barton. 1,600 kilometers away in Nottingham, England, is Mark Hanratty. Joining me right now, Mark. You can see the beautiful images here. I'm sorry that you're not with us.
It looks stunning, Ted. What an incredible looking venue.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. It has a lot of daylight coming into the facility. You'll see the lighting change throughout the day. There's actually some dramatic shadows, and the skaters kind of love it and get inspired to it as well. As we take a look at the judging panel for this event, the rhythm dance, here on day one. And as I said, this is the final event. There's so many exciting performances coming up as we look at the technical panel as well. we have 3 dance teams positioned. They're going to have to skate well to earn those points to qualify for Torino. So there'll be some exciting performances coming along the way over the next 3 days. And there's a look at the start order for this event. So, Mark, back at home, this is your first broadcast live at home at the kitchen table, at the dining table?
The dining room table, that's where I'm at the moment. And it seems it seems bizarre, having been at all the other events, to be removed from it all, but exciting to have the chance to speak and watch with you now.
No, it's great to have you on board, particularly on the dance event, of course. You know, as we talked about before we came to air, it's pretty exciting what can happen. And you know, you have different dance panels on all these different events, at different moments and those skaters are going to perform. And we've got 3 teams that are positioned, and the pressure will be on for them to skate absolutely clean here, so they have the destiny in their own hands. And there'll be a number of teams back at home as well watching this going, gosh, I wonder if I'm going to make it or not. Nothing I can do about it. It's up to the other teams on the ice.
Yeah, it does seem like the pressure is definitely mounting for everybody in this final opportunity, and some of the teams will have been scheduled to compete in Yerevan, and then they find themselves competing at this event and with a whole different energy and vibe about it because of that. So exciting for us to watch what's going to unfold.
Yeah, we were talking to a number of the skaters and coaches over the last few days, and of course, with the addition of the athletes coming from Yerevan into both weeks in Gdansk, of course, and 1 week here, it has been very difficult to put the athletes in the hotels. It's not like a big city where you've got, 150 rooms in one hotel. You've got a number of beautiful, beautiful little hotels and a whole number of different small communities around. So complicated indeed. And once again, we thank the Italian Federation for making this happen and allowing these skaters to get their second Grand Prix event in.
Well, it already looks intense. I don't think we've started any of the Junior Grand Prix on the series so far with the dance event. So interesting to have the dancers be the first to compete in this Junior Grand Prix.
That's true, Mark. We've had the dance, generally speaking, on the second day, and this is first day and first event up. So I've just watched all the practices before this event started. So that was kind of interesting. These athletes pretty much stayed in the venue after their sessions, after the practice sessions, ready to compete. So they're fresh off their practice sessions, ready to go on a beautiful day here in Neumarkt. Sun is out, temperature is just around 17 degrees outside, and this rink is not a cold one, as we have been in a few cold rinks. Mark, on the Junior Grand Prix, this is very, very comfortable. I wouldn't say it's hot, but it's not cold either. So it's a beautiful facility, bright day here, and you can see the sunlight coming through the windows.
So I don't have to feel too guilty about being in the comfort of my own home, knowing that you're not freezing as you may have been last couple of weeks.
No, we're in a room, and actually a couple times I think, Mark, what I'll do is step out my door and watch the warm-up in some cases, because it's right there, and it's so nice to be able to see the warm-up with everybody on it. You can see what's sort of transpiring as opposed to just what we see in the monitor here, of course. You're kind of stuck with that one. But
although I was going to say perhaps this is the only time when watching an ice dance warm-up that I'm glad not to be in sight and fear the constant worry of a team screaming at each other to watch out.
Yeah, it's always a little dicey. But right out my door here, right but where the coaches are, and we just saw that shot, of course, and so been watching closely the coaching pit, if you would, where especially the ice dancers, just a lot of I don't say intensity in a bad way, I say in a good way, focus on the athletes and communications as well. Some wonderful ice dance coaches here in Egna and Neumarkt at this competition. And I'm going to get a chance to speak to a couple of them actually, hopefully a little bit later today. And so look for those on on Instagram, because hopefully they'll be posted. But some interesting stories. And as you do so well, Mark, I've had the chance to speak to a number of athletes and got their background stories. It's just fascinating where they've come from, what part of the world, and especially in dance pairs, although Paris is not here, how these teams actually got together. So some from completely different countries and cultures.
Yeah, and so often within the ice dance competition, two skaters from completely different skating perspectives, and some really fascinating tales. I was even reading about the Ukrainian representatives here in this competition and how the male of that partnership previously skated with Nadia Boshinska, who won the last two events in Gdansk in Poland. And there is, particularly as we move towards the senior ranks, couples finding their former partners to be up against in the competition with somebody else now.
Yeah, it's so interesting as we take a look at the small Canadian group, but that will grow as the athletes get here to cheer on their teams. And we'll start the competition with two Canadian teams right off the start.
And the first of those Canadian teams will be 18-year-old Sandrine Gauthier and Quentin Thierin from Canada.
The first Junior Grand Prix season, second event this year. They took the silver in Riga, and this is one of the teams that has to be in the top three to qualify for the final. So important, as they'll skate first, and they'll skate a flamenco, tango, and paso.
Well, incredible intensity and passion to start the rhythm dance from Sandrine Gauthier and Quentin Thierin from Canada.
Well, this team knows very well that they've got to have a really good rhythm dance and free dance to be able to qualify. And they're probably a little bit surprised when they, or not surprised, but felt unlucky, geez, we got to skate first. Now that it makes a difference, judges are doing such a good job. And this field has only 20 teams. I think last week we had 20, maybe we had 28 one time. There was a lot of teams. The small Canadian group cheering them on, of course. Let's take a look at some of the elements.
And it did look like they were eager and hungry to cement their position as candidates potentially for the Junior Grand Prix final. I thought Sandrine in particular looked on fire, especially with her facial expression as we see them safely through the Twizzles. Here, as we look back at the midline step sequence, looks like it's just coming in as a level 1 for Sandrine, level 2 for Quentin, which could be a little costly when it comes to trying to secure one of these top spots in this event.
Yeah, and unfortunately they didn't get any of the key points at this point. They are looking at the second sequence, but that also is going to be costly.
And that will make it difficult to secure a personal best. This the later key points we see, and that will make it difficult for the team to score anywhere near the big score that they achieved in Riga, where they had 65 points in the rhythm dance. However, it may be that on this occasion the technical panel may be particularly strict. We'll wait to see how it will impact them when all the scores are in, as they're joined by Benjamin Brisbois in the kiss and cry.
Yeah, there's top score 65.45. It doesn't appear that they're going to reach that here in this event. 57.48, first team out. And you can see just a little bit of concern, a little support from Quentin to Sandrine. But you don't know how the rest of the field's going to go. And we'll see that over the next few hours, of course.
And the second Canadian team taking to the ice, 18-year-old Marianne Hubert and 20-year-old William Odson.
Well, this is their first Junior Grand Prix season second event this fall, 10th in Ostrava on week 2. Coached by Tyler Miles, 52.21 personal best skating a flamenco.
Marianne Huber and William Odson from Canada. And Ted, the energy from the ice dancers in just this second team already screaming out through my computer screen. Brilliant effort from this team.
Yeah, just 5 technical elements in this program, and all 5 are actually marked for review, so that's interesting to take a look at. Right now they have a 3 and a 4 for the synchronized twizzles, but the technical panel, worried about a couple of the items, and we'll be reviewing each one of these replays as we go to them right now.
Yeah, interesting to see again, as their compatriots from Canada, no key points as yet awarded in the Argentine tango. This, the midline step sequence, and again, same levels as we saw from Gauthier and Thierry. But I thought so much speed and ice coverage as we look at the twizzles now, and it's exciting to see the teams. This is 6 weeks since their first Junior Grand Prix assignment when they competed in Ostrava in the Czech Republic, and I can visibly see that increase in speed as we look at second section of the Argentine tango. And that's the key point here. Ladies counter twizzle. The man's Choctaw as they head to the cross-rolls. Not the depth of edge that we will see from some of the other teams, but straight line lift looked good. Change of pose with William in a difficult spread eagle position.
Yeah, the midline step stayed at 1 for each partner, 3 and 4 for the twizzles. Yeah, and no key points yet in the competition, so this panel is particularly difficult and tight as long as they are. With all the skaters, it's all good. Yeah, a little fun in the kiss and cry, of course. Great experience gained by any of these teams at the second time out, because we've talked often about it, Mark, that, your first time out, you're sort of, excited and not sure where you stand, and the second time coming out, you're going, okay, I know what I did well, I know what I did wrong, and so I'm going to make that improvement over time. So it's always a great advantage for these teams to gain experience by coming the second time, of course.
Absolutely, and then being able to soak up all the other extra parts of the experience, not just fixating on what's going to happen on the ice, being able to enjoy the chance to be in what looks like a very beautiful location.
Yeah, you wouldn't know, but it is pretty. it is pretty spectacular, I have to say. Well, next time, there, Mark. You had other duties to perform, so we're going to have you at least for 2 days to certainly cover the dance, which is going to be great. So, nice backdrop here for the Kiss and Cry area. They have a great organization here in Egna, Neumark. This is my 3rd time at the Junior Grand Prix here, and always a pleasure to visit. As we take a look at the scores for Marianne and William of Canada, the rhythm dance 49.84. That'll be second in the rhythm dance. Second team out, of course. And some more experience gained.
Following the first 2 competitors hailing from Canada, we stay with North American teams as America's Jenna Hauer and Benjamin Starr take to the ice for the rhythm dance.
This is also their first Junior Grand Prix season, second event this fall, 5th in Ostrava in week 2. And they have a personal best of 58.20. They will skate a tango and a paso.
Despite their relative youth at just 16 and 17 years old, such a surety from Jenna Howard and Benjamin Starr from the United States of America.
Yeah, another team with the second Junior Grand Prix of the season. And these young skaters now, when they leave the Junior Grand Prix, and those who have already completed 2 events, will start their domestic journey. Of course, they'll compete in their own countries as they prepare to qualify for the national championships and move into nationals, maybe a couple other challenger series as well. In Europe, of course, they have a lot more access to international competition as we take a look inside this program.
And this is the first team to encourage or force the technical panel to give it some of the precious key points, and it looks like it's been a very successful first section of the Argentine tango and second, with 6 of 8 key points awarded to the young Americans, as we look at what I thought were fabulously musical twizzles and great synchronicity. This was all perfectly in time with the music as we look at the midline step sequence. And I thought Benjamin in particular was really delivering on the performance here to the judging panel. And I remember in their first Junior Grand Prix 10, they were delighted to place 5th, and it looks like they're really cementing their position as a solid Junior Grand Prix team as they're joined by Svetlana Kudakova, their coach.
Yeah, interesting. They set up their season, as I mentioned, and now they go back to domestic. It's always so exciting coming out on the Junior Grand Prix, international, representing your country, and then you have to go back and work your way back to the top of your country to have those further opportunities. The pressure's on. Those athletes at home that didn't get this opportunity are just waiting to beat you when you go back home and hoping for their next season as well. So it's an interesting dynamics. And, these athletes have their destiny in their own hands. So some make it and some don't in the first year. And then it motivates them for year number 2. As we see this team sort of hoping for a good score, 58.20, their season's best so far. And looks like they might top that here.
And interesting to see that there's movement already likely to happen, because the first couple, Gauthier and Thierry, were expected leaders after this group, but I think perhaps thanks to the solid technical element score given to this young American team, that they might make the surprise lead at this stage.
Yeah. And those key points, obviously key, right? Because they had 6 of the 8, and the Canadian teams didn't get the key points in this one. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance score. Season's best, 60.32. They're thrilled. And
that's the first happy reaction.
Yeah, and that'll put Jenna and Benjamin currently into first place. They have a big screen up against the wall so people will see themselves for sure.
This team competed last week at the Baltic Cup in Gdansk. Here, Angelina Kudryavtseva and Ilya Krankovic,
yeah, that's
from Cyprus.
The second Junior Grand Prix season. Second event, of course, 5th last week at the Baltic Cup, 8th at the Junior World Championship, 62.15. Personal best of the rhythm dance, skating and tango, flamenco.
Well, this team from Cyprus, Angelina and Ilya, such an exciting team, and so many people mesmerized by their exciting free dance last week at the Baltic Cup. They were 8th at the Junior World Championships in April in Tallinn, and they have all the prerequisites for success. Just struggling a little again on their technical element score as they did last week. They had a fall at the start of their rhythm dance last week. Lucky, or relieved, I'm sure, not to have suffered the same fate here, but still technical element score looking a little low, Ted.
Yeah, you know, they were very impressive in practice. I've been watching practice on both days, and very impressive taking the ice. But you can see little things here and there that just get away from them. But as a team, they have good power, good speed, good ice coverage, great presence on the ice, and some good performance as well, but some technical aspects that get in their way.
Yeah, we see now the technical panel will be studying the depth and clarity of the edges as we look at the third and fourth key point. And interestingly, with the curve lift, last week they had just a level 2. This is that coming up now. This week, I don't think she establishes the difficult position because she doesn't let go. This week, I think Ilya attempted the 1 foot as a difficult feature for him, but it looks like it's just coming in at level 1 for now as the technical panel review that. So definitely not the lack of ability from this team. They're both excellent skaters. Just maybe because they're earlier in their season, Ted, as opposed to some of the others. They started their Junior Grand Prix campaign just last week, later than many of the other top teams. So still figuring out and ironing out some of the technical element issues.
Yeah, true. And, you know, we talked about the experience gained from competition 1 to 2. Well, they've only had, you know, sort of back to back. So there wasn't a lot of time to work on the details that they needed to. So we may not have seen that gain, if you will, between the two events. But this is a very good team, and they will continue to progress, you know, throughout the year. When they get their technical details down, they'll see a significant rise, I think, in the standings.
Yeah, completely. This is a team which, having seen that they were 8th at Junior Worlds a few months ago, I think this is a team that well could contend with some of those stronger teams that we might see later on in this competition, just ironing things out. And points between prizes, those levels on the lifts, although actually now it looks like the curve lift is coming in at a 4. So.
Yeah, it is actually, and it's a 4 now, so that's good. And they did get 3 of the key points, so that's good. Level 1 and level 2 on the midline steps. So, you know, and as we talked about, you know, a lot of times that these teams need this, you know, they focus near the end of the season. So some people start their season a little bit later. And also, many of these stories come in that they didn't have ice time. A whole mess of situations that we're sometimes not aware of, or we found a little bit later, that with everything going on around the world, some of these skaters are not getting the same amount of time as you would perhaps in another country. So start a little bit later in the season, have 2 back-to-back, you know, there's a lot of reasons why, but I don't question at all with this team their skating ability and their capacity to continue to rise in the ranks throughout the year.
And having seen how amazing their free dance choreography is, perhaps so much of their training time in the off-season has been devoted to creating something which I think is really, really special in the free dance, but maybe just time devotion to just ironing out some of the levels might be something that has been put on the back burner a little bit.
You can't do everything all at the same time. You're right. You're absolutely right. And generally speaking, one program takes precedent over the other, although you train them both, but one is much more enjoyable to do. So you probably practice that one a little bit more often. Free program, of course, being so important. Maybe more time spent on that early on in the season.
And we can look forward to seeing their free dance tomorrow when the ice dancers will complete what will be the last ice dance competition of the Junior Grand Prix Series before the final.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that people are looking very anxiously at those that will qualify to see what that final is going to look like. As we take a look at the scores for Angelina and Ilya, 54.92 for the rhythm dance. That'll put them into 3rd place. And you can see, and perhaps these scores are a little lower than some of the other. Of course, we're only in the first group, of course, but let's see what happens at the end of this event. Perhaps the panel's a little bit more strict. We'll see.
And the next team taking to the ice from the Ukraine, Zoe Larson and Andriy Kapran.
Sorry, born in Naples, Florida, and Andriy in Kiev. Skating a tango.
Well, a fabulously difficult entry into the rotational lift to close the program for Zoe Larsan and Andriy Kapran from the Ukraine.
This team, Mark, really caught my eye in practice sessions today. I was watching, they have a great look on the ice, you know, some good skating skills as well. Still lots of room for development, as all the teams have, but you'll see this team has a tremendous amount of potential, and I think we're going to see this team rise over the coming years. There's a little inexperience yet with this team still. There's some shaky areas here and there, but overall they have a great look and a great future.
Yeah, and you can see that passionate desire for success. As I mentioned it in the warm-up, Andriy, he has competed before with Nadia Boshinska, and now here with Zoe, looking like a formidable team for the future. Not the same stylistic match. You can tell perhaps the couple hasn't been training together for as long as some of the other teams. So their fundamental way of movement is a little bit different, but that will be ironed out with time. And what you can't replace or buy is that passion and commitment. A little bit out of sync here within the midline step sequence. So as you say, just some little areas for tweaking and refining, but pretty good match here as we look at the sequential twizzles.
Yeah, I just found that sometimes drifting apart, back together, drifting apart. So just haven't had enough time yet to be in sync and tracking each other throughout the program yet.
But I mean, we can't underestimate the difficulties of finding a partner that will match you both in your skating style and in your temperament. And it's great to see that these guys have now found each other. She, as you mentioned, from Naples in Florida, and Andriy from Kiev. And wonderful that despite the geographical distances and cultural changes that they're here and they've got this well prepped this soon.
No, this team's got some, as I mentioned, they have a terrific presence on the ice, and I think once their skating skills gets a bit stronger and they get used to exactly where each other is all the time, and that's what a great team, either in pairs or in dance, they just don't have to look for each other. They know they're there. That's not in this team yet, because it just takes a lot of time, a lot of mileage to have that just sort of automatic. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores for Zoe and Andriy, 46.78. And that'll put this young team currently into 5th place. It's okay. It's good experience gained as they start their journey. And as we take a look at the wide shot of the arena, opposite side to where we're at and where the coaches are, as the next group take to the ice for their warm-up. And there's a look at the start order for this group. So, Mark.
We've got them.
Are you there? Okay, do we have any questions?
Absolutely. Thank you again to those sending in questions on the International Skating Union's Junior Grand Prix YouTube channel. We've had questions coming in on YouTube, questions coming in on Instagram and on Twitter, and grateful for them all, for which we'll try and make our way through. And the first one, Ted, coming in from Jay Green on YouTube. As we head into the last event before the final, what were some of your favourite moments from the previous Junior Grand Prix this year?
Wow. Favorite moments as in regards to, I guess, the skating moments, because if we're talking about meals, then it might be something different. No. I have to say that, and I know this sounds, I'm Canadian, this sounds biased, and I certainly don't mean it that way at all in any shape or form. I'm trying to be very balanced in my comments, but I think that Peter and Nadia's Red Violin program was spellbounding, and I find it just, was fantastic. So I enjoyed that performance a lot. And I would say the competitiveness between the Korean and the Japanese and the American skaters is, we always use the word intense, and that can sound negative, we don't mean it that way, is really special, because they're all wonderful skaters and they're highly competitive, and you never know what's going to happen in the competition. So that's kind of exciting as well. That's not one event, but I found that really, interesting. You?
I think interestingly for me, Ted, some of my favourite moments from the Junior Grand Prix in the skating from a skating perspective, maybe they come from Courchevel, the first Junior Grand Prix of the series this year. And I don't know if that's because that was my first time being live on site and seeing some of the skating. But for me, I remember being just so excited watching the likes of the young Koreans and the Hana Yoshida, the Japanese woman who won that event. I thought that was incredibly exciting to see her triple axel and some beautiful choreography in her short program, which we'll get to see tomorrow. And then also the Korean team, the ice dance team, Hanalin and Ye Kwan, they really stood out to me. But again, that might be largely because I was having the good fortune of being on site and seeing the energy and the passionate conviction to some of the choreography. I suppose perhaps I could be a little complacent now, Ted, as I've been exposed to so much good skating over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, and also I think, Courchevel brings it's a special place on earth, and it's always sort of the first one of the season. So I agree, that is a sort of a special moment, no question, and feels quite the same about those performances as well. What else you got there?
So next up, coming from Supply language, which do you think is harder to execute, the choreo sequence or the step sequence?
My feeling is, and of course, we don't do them. You do them in dancing on ice. But I think the step sequence, because step sequence has a lot of small details that has to be taken care of. I think that the choreo sequence is beautiful. Love the look of that, the feel of it. It's probably more, connected to the music as well. But the step sequence, I think, is difficult because you've got a lot of detail, which you have to be precise with to get those levels. So true, and interestingly, we've been watching the ice dancers, obviously, and the single skaters throughout the series. And for a single skater, when constructing their step sequence, the level of content required to try to aim for a level 4 is really quite intense. As a generalization for the ice dancers, as we see this team working their midline step sequence, content-wise for higher level, less required to input into the choreography than the single skaters, who just have so much if they want to try and get that level 4 and get the body movement done. Whereas for a choreo sequence, you just need 2 easily recognizable skating moves. So comparatively less content, but then, as with anything, making it world class is a whole other ballgame. Yeah, and I think the athletes probably enjoy the choreo sequence a bit more because it's not quite as intense. But yeah, good question. You got another quick one? Thank you for that. Yes. These ones all look like they need more intensity. What do you have to do to become a participant of the Junior Grand Prix? Know how to skate and be invited by your country to represent it. So it's not a qualifying competition, except for your federation will qualify you through a number of different, and everybody's different of how they qualify their athletes to get here. But a lot of developing countries only may have a couple athletes and feel that they're at a standard, maybe a low standard, but want to gain experience. So it's not, it depends on the country. If you're coming from the United States or Canada or France or Germany, it's probably relatively tough, Japan, very tough qualifications within their country. But if you're coming from other developing, early developing countries, then, it could be just an invitation because you're the only one. So true. Last seconds now of the warm-up for the second group of dancers in the rhythm dance here in Egna.
On the ice representing Hungary,
And another couple in their second Junior Grand Prix of the series, Hungary's Maja Bekovic and Mark Shapiro.
Well, this is also their first Junior Grand Prix season, but second event, 17th at the Solidarity Cup in Gdansk. This season's best with the rhythm dance, 44.21. And they'll skate a flamenco to the violin concerto in F minor.
Hungary's Maja Benkovic and Mark Shapiro, and we remarked upon it on their first Junior Grand Prix assignment of the series, how interesting it is that they have used the Vivaldi piece for the rhythm dance, and total respect to them and the team behind it for using an original piece that you wouldn't normally think of as a tango for this.
Yeah, as I'm looking at the music, I'm going Vivaldi for for the or flamenco. So wow, how did that work out? But very nicely.
Yeah, and I think it's really exciting, and total respect to the team for considering something that we will see or hear so many of the same pieces throughout the rhythm dance competition, and great to see somebody take a different take on it from the Hungarians, Maja and Mark. You can see in the Twizzles, just again another team that relatively new to skating together, not quite the exact same match in body alignment and in skating style, but that will come with time.
Yeah, level 3 for both Maja and Mark on the Twizzles.
And it looked to me like they embraced and completely understood the intensity required for the rhythm dance. So I presume judges will reward them in the presentation, and their coaching team will know it'll be the skating skills that will need to be honed and refined for that increased speed that we've seen from some of the other teams at this stage, as they're joined by Mahil, their coach, in the Kiss and Cry.
Yeah, you can see this team is just, getting going as juniors and needs a lot more mileage, experience, and time, both in training and competition. It's quite interesting when you take a look at two parallel careers in a way. One is a training career, and the other is a competitive career. And you train to compete, but you don't compete that often. You train a lot, right? So once you learn how to skate it in practice session, how do you transfer that into a situation that's a lot more intense and stressful, if you will, and what changes in your mind and in your body under those circumstances, and how many competitions does it take you to learn how to compete? Well, sometimes it takes years and years, sometimes it's shorter. Let's take a look at the scores for Maja and Mark. 40.83, that'll put them in 6th place in the rhythm dance so far in the competition.
The first of the home nation teams, and we saw them towards the latter stages competing in the Baltic Cup last week. One of the last teams to skate now here in the earlier stages in Egna. Noemi Maria Tali and Stefano Frasca.
Yeah, 7th at the Baltic Cup last week. Their personal best 57.24. They'll skate a tango to Oblivion in Ostrava.
Noemi Maria Tali and Stefano Frasca from Italy. And Noemi will be a little frustrated with the bubble on the twizzles for her. And just now looking at the technical panel's assessment of this rhythm dance, looks like they deemed some of the choreographic lifting at the beginning to be recognised as their actual lift. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not there'll be some big repercussions on the score for the Italians.
Yeah, they have some work to do actually on the list of elements too. If you can take a look now, you can see that. So the technical panel might take a bit. They have 3 reviews coming in. But they got a nice look, nice performance level, some technical questions, of course, no key points. So another team with no yeses, and that will end up to be a little costly, of course. They're 57.24 is their season's best as we look at some of the replays.
That was the issue there, that opening lift. Technical panel considered that may have been off the ice for 3 seconds and a lift callable if it's off the ice for 3 seconds, but hopefully that won't.
Yeah, went in as a stationary lift and it's still being looked at, of course. Here's
and
the
then
twizzles.
Here we see the, yeah, oh, shame. So she will lose the feature with the leg catch there, and it looks like it might just come in as a level 1. So relative, it's difficult, isn't it, Ted, because she'll lose so many points with that, but not to say this isn't a great team. This team, I think, of all those that have competed so far, looks the most senior in their approach, the most refined in their style. Just struggling with the technical stuff today.
Yeah, I agree. The maturity is there. A nice performance, but it was a little unsteady, and clearly they had some challenging technical with no key points. Level 1 on the twizzles for Noemi, and level 1 on the midline steps as well. So not what they want or need to be in contention on the technical side.
And interestingly, looking back at the archives, that there have been so many really successful senior ice dance teams from Italy. We've seen Capellini, Lanotte, Federica Faella, Massimo Scali, so many brilliant world medalists from Italy. They haven't had as much success on the junior ranks, so maybe it's just that these Italian teams take a little bit longer to mature, but when they do, they are very special.
Well, they have a great ice dance community here in Italy, and competitive. I mean, they've got competitive coaching teams in different locations, so that bodes well for the senior teams here in Italy. But as you said, it might take a little bit longer for these teams to develop as juniors, and quite often these teams may not get together to quite a bit later in their skating careers, right? So it takes longer. So 57.24 is their season's best, and it's a 49.92, so that is a significant low. And you can see that coach going, whoa, what happened here? And they will take a look at that scoring very quickly on the monitor behind the wall here backstage. They want to see what happened, and they can, and they will.
On the ice, Germany,
Yet another team competing in back-to-back events. Mia Lee Meyer and Tobias Huber from Germany.
The second event is the 16th at the Baltic Cup, and they'll skate a tango and flamenco.
And I love the difficult exit for the rotational lift from the German team, Mia Lee Meyer and Tobias Huber. And having chatted to another of the German coaches, I understand this team, Ted, was given the opportunity to compete here, their second Junior Grand Prix, because unfortunately another German team was suffering COVID. And it looks to me like this team is just absolutely embracing this surprise opportunity to compete again at this prestigious level.
Yeah, this was a much stronger performance, and I'm not saying the practice sessions were weaker, but this didn't go down, this went up. They rose their game at the moment they needed it. So this was a strong performance for this team, and there's a 46.59 is their season's and personal best. We'll see if they can top that here, but I thought that was really strong.
And it's interesting when some teams go up in energy and rise to the occasion, and some just struggle to maintain or to deliver what they're capable of in practice. And perhaps for this couple, being able to compete here and represent Germany at a Junior Grand Prix, unexpecting that until relatively recently, has allowed them to just free up a little.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Sometimes when it's just a surprise, you go in with a lot less like, oh, well, let's just go and do it and do the best we can. Yeah. So you don't go in with high expectations, and you skate free at that point.
Whereas others might be coming into the event knowing this is their last chance to perhaps secure a spot in the Grand Prix final, and that can again change things. Love the rotational lift. It was particularly brilliant, I think, for me, is the difficult exit. And you can see this actually, I thought it had potential last week and looked much smoother already this week, 1 week later on. And then this just transitional content towards the end of the program.
Oh, they look pretty happy with that performance.
A real mixed bag, Ted, of people either going delighted in the kiss and cry or frustrated.
Yeah, exactly. Season's best, 46.83. So they've got to be happy with that. They're moving up in their scores. That'll put them currently into 6th place. The scores at this point, a little lower than the other events we've seen so far, I would say, Mark.
Absolutely, and I think the technical panel have high expectations and standards as we look now at the team from Slovakia. Anna Simova turned 17 last Friday, and her partner is 18, Kirill Aksenov.
Yeah, second Junior Grand Prix season, second event, 4th at the Czech skate in week number 2. And they'll skate, of course, the tango.
Anna Simova and Kirill Aksanov from Slovakia. I think they were disappointed to be just off the podium in 4th place in Ostrava, and they have absolutely improved significantly, I think, in the 6 weeks since that event, as they're cheered on by their teammates following that rhythm dance.
And you'll watch the intensity off the top of the program. You see this by Kirill. He's really intense and right in character right off the top of the program. And that was pretty strong. They've got some nice levels and 3 yeses on the key points. And that's a victory here this week so far, you know, as we take a look with hugs as they come off the ice.
Interesting to hear that, having chatted to their coach, he was saying that they just teamed up in spring of 2021, and yet this is a team that to me looks really well seasoned, really well matched, both in their fundamental skating skills and in their passion, as you can see, as you say at the beginning.
Look at the intensity. That's awesome. Slowed that down for you there, Mark.
Yeah, appreciated. And if the judges don't reward that in the presentation, I'm not sure what we'll get.
Here's a look at the quizzes. Level 3 for Anna and level 4 for Kirill. With a plus GOE at 1.60, so good scores on that. Here's a look at some of the midline step.
And I think there's a Choctaw that comes up, but you can see that real, very evident commitment to the depth of edge for the step sequence style B. And this, I remember enjoying this change of pose. That's a fabulous change of pose. And that will accrue level 4, I am sure, but not only that, it should justify a good grade of execution because of its creativity there.
Nicely done.
And their coaches, Matteo Zani and Barbara Retsnikova, they're developing a really strong ice dance academy, the Young Goose Academy.
Do that up in Bolzano, of course. Rhythm dance score is 57.22 for Anna and Kirill. And they're going, okay, it's not too bad. That will put them currently into 3rd place, all very tight up there. As you can see, they're essentially almost tied with the Canadian team. 2 more groups to come after one more team in group number 2. The champions from week 1.
They were incredible in Courchevel at the first Junior Grand Prix of the series. Here, returning to the series, Korea's Hannah Lim and Ye Kwan.
Yes. This is their 2nd Junior Grand Prix this season, 62.71. And they'll skate to a milonga.
Well, Ted, after the first Junior Grand Prix of the series, I was ready to give this team the Junior World title. I just thought how amazing their Danse Macabre free dance was. But a lot has happened on the Junior Grand Prix in the ice dance competition this year, and perhaps a little pressure then mounting as Hannah Lim and Yi Kwan have watched the rest of the series unfold, and maybe that's the reason for a little mistake for Hannah, unfortunately, in the midline step.
Yeah, and even that little mistake was, okay, it's a big deal, but I thought, oh, okay. But I felt they were a little tight throughout the whole performance, struggling a little bit, knowing the position they're in and wanting to skate, but they didn't skate quite as free and open as what I was expecting and had seen before. So totally understandable. This is a completely different situation. It's the final competition. They're trying to make the final in Torino. So, of course, there'll be a little bit more pressure as we see the opening moves.
And who knows, maybe as we see how the judges and the tech specs will react to this, maybe being lower after the rhythm dance or having a less successful rhythm dance might ignite their fire to skate with all the freedom and passion, and even more than we enjoyed in France at the first event.
Now here we can just see the loss of balance on that twizzle in the steps.
The unfortunate thing, that may not drop the level, but it'll certainly affect the grade of execution and the step sequence. A really valuable element, probably the most heavily weighted in terms of points of all 5 of the elements within the rhythm dance for the juniors.
Yeah, no, the key points, getting only 2 yeses, 6 no's on the key points, but the panel has been very consistent and very strict on those key points in this event, so no problem with that, of course.
This couple comes into this event with a different kind of expectation. They are really eager to try and push towards the likes of Mrazkova and Mrazek from the Czech Republic, who lead the rankings with the highest scores of the series.
Well, this team's season's best is 62.71. They're going to fall a little shy of that here, but still probably a good enough score to be in contention as they enter the free dance. But, of course, we have 2 more groups to come in the rhythm. Really like the personalities of these two.
Yeah.
They love skating. They have a great joie de vivre and lots of, energy when they speak to people, and a real passion for the sport, of course. And even though they may have felt some pressure, excitement as well.
They were a delight to chat to after their win in Courchevel. They just, as you say, Ted, just joyful. And I think what's really beautiful to see here is the support between the team. And that's, both parties invested in the same common desire for the best possible scores.
Yeah, it's funny when the team got together, you went, okay, how would this work? And it just sort of, just perfectly molded together quite quickly. And they had some dynamic, personality right off the top. And I think Hannah has this crispness and sharpness, and her presentation, particularly also in the free dance, is so intense. I'm using that intense word a lot here. I got to stop doing that. Right? Yeah.
Tango day.
Okay, I got to figure out another one. Here we go. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores for Hannah Lim Yi Kwan. 59.01. That is second so far in the rhythm dance. As we take a look at the standings, but really not far off the Americans. And they'll bring it, I'm most certain, in the free dance as we go to an ice resurfacing movie man 1,600 kilometers away in his living room. Mark, what do we have on tap?
Yeah, stay tuned, because we have some movie footage for you, the first of which will be the trailer for the World Ice Skating Day taking place on the 4th of December. And then shortly after that, we'll head to an interview with the winner of the men's event at the Baltic Cup last week. And finally, we head to Bangkok for a look at the ISU Elements Explained series. And in this footage, it will be of the camel spin.
And we're going to take a short break during the ice resurfacing here in beautiful Egna, Neumark. Enjoy the videos. We'll be back. Stay with us. Here at the Baltic Cup with the men's champion, now I have to really work hard to get this right, Katuru Amim Katayise. Is it correct? Perfect. Thank you so much. Takuro, just really, you're such a beautiful skater. The elegance and the body line, and you had such an inspiring performance. You've been in juniors a lot. This is your very first international competition, correct?
Yes, it's first time for me.
And how did you feel about your performance and when the scores came up?
First, I'm very, very happy to get the first position in this competition. And I was very, very nervous since this morning. So I'm now a little relaxed and released. Now I feel like that.
Oh, no question. You, of course, at the end of the competition, and you've won, and you have a gold medal here. Of course, you're going to feel more relaxed. Such a beautiful skater. What is it that makes you special? Because I find you as a very special skater. Do you feel very connected with your music? Do you prefer to perform or to jump?
I like to perform better. I don't have quarter jumps, so I think I have to work on spins and skating skills. And today, judges have. I got high points, so I think it was good for me.
It was very good, not only for you, but for all of us watching, that's for sure. Now, I understand that you're going to the next Junior Grand Prix in Egna.
Yes.
And you're hoping to skate well there, hopefully to make the Grand Prix final?
Of course.
Okay, well, we wish you the very best of luck. You're a beautiful skater. Really enjoyed the performance here. Exciting, your first Junior Grand Prix event, and you win it, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The men's champion here in Gdansk at the Baltic Cup.
Sawadee Krab. Welcome everyone to the ISU Center of Excellence at the Iwas International Training Center in Bangkok, Thailand. Today we will be looking at the camel spin. Let's take a look at the camel position. The knee of the free leg should be higher than the hip, with good turnout and toe pointed. Both legs should be completely straight. Your torso should be parallel to the ice, with a slightly arched back. For a basic position, have your arms extended to the side. To work on your balance and a strong position, do a spiral down the ice, keeping your head straight forward and your core strong. When you're doing your wind-up for the camel spin, make sure you look where you're going to step and step into the circle with a nice low torso. To practice keeping your weight over your skating leg, place your hand on your skating side hip during the entry and the spin. Krab. Thank you for joining us at the ISU Center of Excellence at the Iwas International Training Center in Bangkok, Thailand. Please stay tuned for more videos from the ISU. Sawadee Krab.
Junior Ice Dance Reset, Group Number 3. Two following skaters may now take the ice for a 5-minute warm-up. Representing Great Britain, Ashley Slater, Esther Omi-Perez. Representing Brazil, Catalina Guedes-Pilau, AJ Souza. Representing France, Louise Rodet, Thomas Giboulou. Representing the United States of America, Leah Vincent Artyom Hartlov. Representing Israel, Elizabeth Pacheco.
1,600 kilometers away at home. Oh, you're there, Mark. that was the cue. Are you there?
Is he here? Is he gone? Have I run away?
No, all good. Yeah. Well, two groups done. I was just commenting to someone. I said, well, I'm not used to sort of having just one ice resurfacing in an event, right? Usually, the last few weeks.
We're used
go ahead.
to marathons.
Yeah, exactly. So this is quite nice.
And I think a strong event in the ice dance competition, we were talking before we started, oh gosh, oh dear. These ice dance warm-ups, Ted, they're just terrifying.
I know.
We're talking about the strength of this event, and I don't know if we consider that all the more because it's the last of the competition or because we just know everybody's improving, and I've seen that's very visible in the first two groups. The visible improvement in the fitness and the strength and the speed of the teams, the top 10 teams so far.
Yeah, and I think some of the teams that have had training challenges in regards to not getting enough ice time or, something that's happening, or, come to the competitions a little earlier on in the Junior Grand Prix season. And the later ones, it depends on the strategy of the coaches. If you're trying to make the final, or if you're setting yourself up for your national competition series that you've got coming up to try to qualify for your nationals. So it all depends on what the strategy of the coach is with the team and where the team is on development. Generally speaking, the end of the Junior Grand Prix series, you'll see a little bit stronger event.
And, we could also suggest, Ted, that perhaps because they've all been watching the ISU Junior Grand Prix YouTube channel, that they'll have had the inspiration from other teams. And for us both, I'm sure we're both being so excited by what is brewing up to be a very hotly contested Junior Grand Prix finals. So
we could suggest that, but I don't know that we should, but we could. No, I like that. It's brewing up.
Absolutely.
Oh,
brewing up for, I was going to say brewing up for a battle, but I need to move away from that word. Battle, brewing up for an intense competition.
Let's talk a little bit about the Young Goose Academy here. It's very interesting. I've been here now, this is my third time, and early on, I got to meet the sort of the developers of this center here. And Neumark, for those who do not know where this is about 2 hours north of Verona. And it is about an hour and a half south of Murano, and just about 20 minutes from Bolzano. So it's in this big valley. It's a beautiful rink, surrounded by orchards and vineyards. And a little town of Egna and Neumark. Wonderful restaurants and beautiful homes, but it's small. It's a very small community. I took the train and I had to find which bus I had to take because the bus doesn't come that often. I mean, we are really more in a little bit of an isolated area. But the Young Goose Academy started many years ago, and with some dedicated people determined to provide high-performance training for figure skating in this area of Italy. And I've spent a lot of time and resources in putting together this academy, of which, of course, they've got a lot of really good skaters over the years and coaches coming here as well. A lot of great choreography is done in this facility for European skaters that come here to visit in the summertime to get their programs done. So it's a fantastic facility. They've done a brilliant job at putting an academy together, so they should all be congratulated. I hope to be able to do an interview a little bit later this week with the creator of this, I would say.
And we've seen so much representation from various different skating nations, and I think it's always really exciting to hear of new hubs and new centres of excellence producing, or with the full intent of trying to create world-class homegrown skating, and that's just incredibly exciting for those that have made that big commitment, because it's undoubtedly a greater challenge to start something new than to build on something already well established.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but not every club around the world can provide the facilities, the off-ice, the expertise, all of that. So you need to gravitate to those locations that provide you all the resources that you need to hone your skills into a high-performance dancer or pair skater or single skater or synchro or whatever the case may be. So, and not every club can do that because they don't have the ice time, they may not have the off-ice facilities, they may not even have coaches who really want to teach the high performance. They'd rather teach, learn to skate and sort of recreational skating. So it's special skills and resources that are required. As we start group number 3. And this team comes from your home, your area of the world there, Mark.
Yes, they do indeed. And the next couple, I think the youngest in the ice dance competition, with Ashley Slatter and Atal Ongi Perez from Great Britain being such an exciting new prospect that really impressed us in Riga.
Yeah, really charming. And Ashley, I met her today as she dropped her stuffy came out of her bag, and I handed it to her, and I realized, she's just 13 years of age, but such poise. 8th at the Riga Cup, 51.13, good score for their rhythm dance, and they'll skate to a tango and flamenco.
Another brilliant skate from the very young British team, Ashley Slatter and Atal Ongi Perez.
Well, lots of energy. Lots of energy in this young team, Mark, and a nice future coming up.
Yes, for sure. And you've talked and spoken to me at length about the excitement and the potential that the Junior Grand Prix offers, and I think the experience of this team was one of the most heartwarming experiences for me watching, because the absolute joy of being able to perform on this prestigious stage was so evident when they competed in Riga, and their coaches explained that has fueled them in practice to return. They were meant to compete in Yerevan. They've had a couple of weeks more training time, and they look like they've utilised it as much as possible.
Well, just 13 and 15 years old. I mean, no matter which way you think about it and how mature they look on the ice, it's still young, which means they have had limited time to develop. We see the pickup on the rotational lift, which is in at a level 4, of course, with a plus GOE. You can see for Alto just pushing a little bit with that left leg a little far. You want to have those turns a little bit smoother.
Was it fabulous, difficult entry into the Twizzles for the team? And I thought throughout, Ted, you could just see like a little wry smile between them. They appear to have a very wonderful connection and friendship for two so young. And it was evident to me within this. And also interesting seeing them off the ice. They're just such happy-go-lucky young humans. And yet at times it was funny to see the intensity of young 13-year-old Ashley, which she delivered.
Yeah, lots of energy and a passion for what they're doing. Of course, some good levels as well. They got level 4 for both athletes in the Twizzles with a plus GOE. Plus GOE is actually in every element, which is really outstanding. Only one yes on the key point. But let's take a look at the scores. 48.52, and that'll put Ashley Nolhongay Perez currently into 8th place.
The next team taking to that is cheered on by the women's entry from Brazil. This is Catarina Guedes-Tibau and Caden Oliver Dawson.
Second event this season, with 11th in the Cup of Riga, 37.09, their season's best. Spanish waltz in the tango.
Catarina Guedes-Tibau and Caden Oliver Dawson from Brazil. And this team is so eager to try and secure the minimum technical element score for Junior World Championships, and that would make them the first team from Brazil to compete at Junior Worlds.
Yeah, I had a chance to speak with both of them, and Katrina was telling me about this team. They do train in Toronto with Carol Lane and Yirs Razguliev, but they went down to Brazil to participate in an activity, in a skating show, I guess, and they did an exhibition and got to know the young skaters coming up and try to inspire them. So they did get down there to do some skating in their home country, so that was pretty exciting. You can see the focus right off the top of the program here.
And I'm sure training in that environment will offer them great inspiration to be alongside the likes of Nadia Bashinska and Peter Beaumont, who won the last two Junior Grand Prix.
Look at some of the steps in the midline.
And here are the twizzles. Now, the minimum technical element score for Junior Worlds, they secured in the free dance. They haven't had that yet in the rhythm dance, and they'll need to attain 24 points in the technical element score to achieve that. Now, we've seen throughout this event that the technical panel is consistently pretty strict, which is no bad thing. It gives the competitors something to work towards, and they have high expectations of what's necessary to get the levels called, but it might make it a challenge for the team to snare what they want in regards to the qualification for Junior World Championships.
Yeah, absolutely no problem with the technical panel. They're being very consistent across the board with all the teams, the top teams, the middle teams. So no issue there whatsoever, but it will make it challenging to make that qualifying score. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance score for Katarina and Caden. 37.82, that's 12th in the rhythm dance at this point in the competition.
The second French ice dance team that we see here in Egna, this is Louise Bordet and Thomas Jupolou.
They were 6th in Ostrava, week 2 of the Junior Grand Prix. With a 57.03, they'll skate a flamenco and tango.
And a subtle finish to the choreography for Louise Bordet and Thomas Juppeleux from France.
More really nice detail, great deep edges, nice flow throughout the program, sharp, crisp movements. And their season's best is 57.03. They'll come close to that and move into the contenders, I would think.
I think Louise, in particular, will be relieved. She had problems with the Twizzles in their first Junior Grand Prix assignment of the year on Ostrava. Much more success here. And I think this team, desperate to try and be competitive with Fragi and Jean-Han Fourneau, who they train alongside from France, who have attained 2 medals on the Junior Grand Prix circuit already this year. And I think this team has the quality to make that happen moving forward. Just they've had issues in their first event. A little out of sync, but lots of speed going into the Twizzles. And fighting hard. You can see the fight throughout.
Yeah, level 3 for both Thomas and for Louise, the plus GOE.
And the depth of edge on this outside spread eagle, really impressive from Thomas in the curve lift. I just thought, Ted, here you can see a little short on some of the outgoing edges within their midline step sequence. I love this question answer, though, in the choreography.
Yeah, great phrasing of the choreography, of course, with the music as well.
And we've seen a lot of French ice dance teams, all with really interesting choreography, and this team no different to that. Looking forward to seeing the free dance tomorrow as well.
I've always said it, as long as I've covered the Junior Grand Prix, the French have always brought something new to the table. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you know it's not always going to be the same. And they're always breaking new ground and new ways to perform and to skate. And a great addition to this wonderful world of skating. 56.55 for Louise and Thomas. And that'll put them currently into 5th place. Such an interesting story for this next team. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
They are the American junior champions, Leah Nesset and Artem Markelov.
Leah from North Dakota. Artem was born just outside of Russia. Been in the States for 3 years. More on that later.
Well, it may be their only performance on the Junior Grand Prix series this year, but no doubt about their quality. The American Junior champions Leah Nisset and Artem Markelov.
Well, you'll be happy to know, Mark, I caught that interesting flip over Leah's shoulders in the steps there. That was a bit of a surprise.
I was going to
ask. I only by luck, but I did manage to get it. Interesting team. You can see why they're national champions. They have a great chemistry together. Good skating skills, wonderful performance as well, and lots more to come. I'm most certain. Just 16 and 19 years of age, so a great start to this partnership.
And I read, Ted, that they have occasional acting classes to help enhance their performance abilities, and that evident so necessary to have an acting ability in the ice dance competition. Oh, I think it's coming up.
And here it is.
This was a great transition.
Slow it down. And watch right here.
Wow. Seamless. That has been very well rehearsed to be able to interpret right up to the backflip over the shoulder. And I read, Ted, that they will do up to 3 run-throughs a day. So commitment to their desire to be incredibly competitive and fit by doing extra run-throughs than most of the teams ever would. And you can see that comfort in their choreography with repetition through all of these slow-mos.
There is no replacement for run-throughs. They're just it conditions you and makes you aware of the small details that you wouldn't if you do less run-throughs. So you can train all the individual elements you want, but unless you run through each day, it's going to be tough to sort of have that automatic pilot, if you will, under competitive circumstances.
And just to make sense of that for those that haven't experienced run-throughs, the run-throughs can be so physically demanding and exhausting. There's often a reluctance for athletes to do them, but to know that this team is willing to do 3 a day is very impressive.
Yeah, there's times you have to taper down a little bit on it, but 61.27 for Leah and Artem. That clearly is in first place at the moment, and they look pretty happy with that score, with a kind of a soft high five. Wasn't a real powerful one, but they're happy with that score as they take over the lead. 2 American teams on top, 1 and 2.
And this team, they also train in the States, but here representing Israel, Elizabeth Kachenko and Alexei Kliakov.
13th at Junior Worlds last year, 8th in Ostrava week 2, 55.06 personal best this season. As they take their spot to try to beat that score right now.
Incredible strength from Elizabeth Tkachenko and Alexei Kilyakov representing Israel.
Elizabeth Tkachenko, Alexei Kilyakov, Israel.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, Mark, I was saying, I think, where else did they skate? Or was it Ostrava? I can't remember what we had said here.
Yes, in Ostrava.
Yeah, when I heard the siren, and I'm going, okay, is that outside my door? When I was,
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Interesting program, very dynamic. Some pretty good skating skills, and some of the levels, Elizabeth lost two levels, in fact, on the twizzle. We'll take a look at some of the elements in this program here. You'll see a lot of drama right off the top here.
And I thought when I saw them in practice in Ostrava, they were really considered in contention for medals at that event. They struggled a little bit with the twizzles and the free dance there, just haven't had, the best technical element score that they would have desired. But they have a very mature look, with strong skaters individually. And I love the changes of hold within the Argentine tango. This is the first section of the Argentine tango, and they really exploited the opportunity this season to play with the holds within that. And this, the straight line lift. I love this in Ostrava. The attention to detail with the rotation of the wrist and the fingertips. Impressive work. And I think, Ted, it's going to be interesting to see the reactions of the teams to the scores, because generally the levels are harder to achieve in this event than we have seen from some of the other Junior Grand Prix. The skaters so far a little despondent, seeing scores that maybe aren't higher than that they have achieved already, but it becomes a little bit more perhaps reflective of the result and the ordinal.
Yeah, and I think that, they, in some cases, they thought, wow, we've skated way better in this event, right? But in this case, the technical panel pretty tight on giving those key points, particularly, and this team had 2 out of the 8. As we take a look at the rhythm dance score, 54.84, and that will put Elizabeth and Alexei currently into 8th place. And that will conclude the group number 3. As group number 4 will take to the ice. And yeah, you're right. I mean, they think every team, we haven't seen a team go, yay, it's a great score. So, but that's just, and then as we take a look at the start order for group 4. And the final group in this rhythm dance, as they take to the ice for their warm-up. Mark, do we have any questions? I think we had a question about, what was that question again? Because it came up in your commentary, actually.
I've got a host of questions in front of me here, Ted. Okay. Whether or not I get the right one for you, I'm not sure, but
I'm going to find out.
The one that I see, Ted's going to find it. And we see and hear the reaction to more Italian teams competing with the home crowd. Excited to see skaters from the home nation.
Let me just see here. Oh, actor. Okay, as an actor, I'm curious about how skaters train their storytelling abilities. And I think that was a really, really good question, because you mentioned about acting. And I've always felt that, and there are some schools that actually bring acting coaches in, because you can skate well, and particularly in ice dance. I haven't actually seen that on any of the other disciplines, but in ice dance, because they are storytelling, you've got the technical part of the skating, the performance part, but in fact, what is the story? What does the facial expression need to be? What does the angle of the head need to be? What does the body language need to be to really help accentuate the story? And I think that's a really interesting question. There are schools that do bring acting coaches in.
Absolutely, and already we've seen the American team who lead the field so far, Nessa and Markelov, and in their biog it acknowledges that they will employ and do employ acting coaches. I know other teams that will use mime artists to help them develop better the delivery of the composition of their program. And the judging criteria for the program component scores is the same for ice dance as it is in singles, but there does tend to be a greater focus upon the delivery of the program, and that perhaps most pertinent in the rhythm dance, because there is a prescribed theme, and that this year is tango. So it's interesting to see which of the teams really vividly and evidently showcase that tango flavor and that tango storytelling.
Okay, another question, and one of our favorites, of course, is how does ballet training improve your skating skills, Mark?
Well, as we've touched on in some of the other Junior Grand Prix events, the ballet is used so often by competitive skaters, both ice dancers and single skaters, to help develop a better body awareness. And the work that the ballet dancers do in aligning better posture or better extension just helps to build up the neural pathways to connect what the coach desires and what the skater can achieve in helping make cleaner leg extensions, a more open-chested posture. And there's no doubt that ballet has a great enhancement for the skaters and their aesthetics.
Yeah, there's no question that ballet gives you the posture required to be successful in each one of these disciplines, particularly if you're a single skater or a pair skater that have to jump in the air. You want that back to be so strong and so straight. So important, not only that, of course, the aesthetics with beautiful extended free legs, lots of flexibility, things like that. So ballet is so important to our sport. And there are variations of ballet type of training that can still be very effective, of course. Let's see what else we have here. How long does it take usually to judge one person? Well, it's generally around 2.5 minutes if you're dealing with a singles program or even a pair program. About 2.5 minutes. Takes a little longer perhaps with dance. So there are sort of, not a strict rule, but the judges are asked to, perform their tasks within a certain time frame. Of course, if they have to go over, they do.
And the International Skating Union is so incredibly impressive with their timekeeping, and the judges will have a task in their hand with each of the performances in the rhythm dance to input a grade of execution for each of the 5 elements in the rhythm dance, and then to give 3 component scores: composition, presentation, and skating skills. So arguably, Ted, this year it's a little bit easier for the judges because they have less scores to input.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'd use the word easier, just less work.
No.
Less work. I think judging is a very, very difficult task, of course. I know enough about the sport, I know enough about the judging, to go down to, if you're going to follow that criteria and not get caught up in just the overall, then you're going to have keen eyes focused on every detail, every limb, arms and legs and posture and you name it, plus the grade of execution, the quality of each one of the technical elements. So many things come into play that you have to then put a number to in short order. And so it is really, the judges are judging experts. They may not be able to teach skating necessarily, but they understand clearly what they have to follow the rules by and how to judge. And so it has evolved into really an expertise that judges really need to have. Not easy job, and we thank them for the time they spend in the training and the execution. Okay. Are you still there? Still there, Mark?
I thought that was an excellent articulation of the hard task of every judge, and the judges will have enjoyed maybe a little respite as they head now towards the final group of 5 skaters, and opening this group from Italy, Alex Pezzorni and Massimiliano Bucciarelli.
First Junior Grand Prix season skating, of course, the tango.
Alice Pizzorni and Massimiliano Bucciarelli from Italy.
Alice Pizzorni, Massimiliano Bucciarelli, Italy.
Oh, nice performance. And by Alice and Massimiliano. You can see not hometown crowd, but not a lot of spectators here. Of course, as I mentioned a little bit before, this arena is kind of far away from the big centers as we take a look at the opening of the program.
And being in Italy, it offers the host nation opportunity to enter more skaters and more dance teams, and so this in itself wondrous opportunity for Alice and Massimiliano to compete on this stage, and they find themselves sharing a warm-up group with the current and reigning junior world record holders in the rhythm dance. So the entire event, amazing opportunity, and well done to them for laying down what is a relatively clean skate in their rhythm dance here. Just not quite the same level of flow, not quite the same amount of ice coverage. Well, certainly not the same ice coverage as we'll see from the Czech team, but that will be very evident to them. They'll have seen that in practice. But this was good. Rotational lift. Just losing one feature there.
Yeah, and for those viewing from around the world, when we do get to the Czech team, and it's really hard to tell on video, I understand that, but I have rarely seen, maybe never have seen in all the years I've covered this, a team that skates so fast and so on the edge of great success or disaster and pushing the limits as we will see with Katarina and Danielle from the Czech Republic. So it's really exciting. It's a little nicer to see that live, of course. But, of course, you saw that, Mark, in Ostrava, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. They blew me away there. And I suppose that's what's so wonderful about competition here and the opportunity for so many teams from around the world coming together and opportunity to see that live and in person. And for Alice and Massimiliano, they will not have had to travel quite as far as some of the others, but great that they had the chance to share the ice in practice with the Czech team, and the draw for this rhythm dance, totally random, so they got to exploit that.
And the rhythm dance scores for Alice and Massimiliano, 47.46, and that will put them currently in 12th place, but good experience. They're pleased to be here and to learn from their own experience, but watching others as well.
And another Italian ice dance team, this time Giorgia Galimberti and Matteo Libas Mandelli.
Well, they were 9th in the Cup of Riga, 16th at Junior Worlds last season, 51.50, the personal best in the rhythm dance, skating a flamenco, tango, and milonga.
We come to expect passionate delivery for tango from Italian ice dancers, and that definitely the case for Georgia and Matteo.
You know, it's funny, I find the end of that music kind of just leaves it a little bit high. You don't get what you feel is going to be the last note, and maybe that's the intention. You say, I want a little bit more.
Yearning for more?
Yeah.
Yeah, often the teams will use a button at the end, a punctuation mark at the end, just to finish with a little bit more intensity.
That almost finished with a question mark as we take a look at the opening here. We see Matteo just arrive on the scene.
And it's been so interesting to see how the different teams have embraced this tango theme, and many using the likes of flamenco, which Georgia and Matteo have used. Twizzles so close, and I love the extension of the free legs. They did incredibly well not to collide on the third Group C feature and the Twizzles there. As we get a little look at the second section of the Argentine tango, and this the third and fourth key points. Technical panels just looking at the quality of those cross rolls at the end.
Yeah, and again, there's no key points awarded on this team. But it's been consistent throughout the event, so that is well done by the technical panel.
And I wonder whether or not, as we look to this last group, whether or not the teams and the coaches are aware that perhaps scores are being lowered, just to preempt and prepare the skaters the knowledge that whilst they may have shown improvement in their component scores, maybe they might not receive an improvement upon their previous personal bests.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a 51.50 for Georgia and Matteo. So far this season, personal best, the season's best was 50.07, but they're going to fall a little bit short today with a 48.25, and that will put this team currently into 12th place. So yeah, you haven't seen a team yet throw their arms up and big high five,
no.
Kiss and cry and all that kind of stuff. There's not been a lot of joy in the kiss and cry. I think the expectation might be a little higher, but it is what it is. And we'll see what happens with this next team.
Exactly. Be interesting to see what scores will be achieved for Katarina Mrazkova and Daniel Mrazek from the Czech Republic.
A second Junior Grand Prix season this fall, winning week 2 in Ostrava, of course. 70.83 in that event. Hoping to get close to that today. Skating a tango and a paso.
Well, the standard has been good in this event in Egna, but that another level of quality from Katarina Mrazkova and Daniel Mrazek from the Czech Republic.
It is simply amazing. Even on video, you can see how much faster and deeper edge and great flow across the ice. They're aggressive. They're pushing like sprinters would continue to pick up speed throughout the program. It's quite extraordinary.
It really is extraordinary of a senior caliber level and a strong senior team. Like, I'd be fascinated to see how this team will translate to the senior ranks. And what's even more amazing, Ted, is knowing that there were single skaters such as 2 to 3 years ago, and the quality of their work is magnificent.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible how aggressive they are. And I think they said, okay, you guys can skate this well, then show us. Go for it like it's your own solo. Be aggressive. Live with a little bit of danger, but you're also going to reap the benefits with a lot of success. Look at the speed going into those twizzles. Level 4, obviously for both, but a 2.74 GOE addition. That's a 10.08 points for that one element off the top of the program. Absolutely top-notch.
And we have an insight into the judges' skating skills component scores as we look at the second section of the Argentine tango, and the judges in the high 7s, and to me, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the judges were low to mid 8s out of 10 on the skating skills, thanks to the incredible flow that they have. And this was great difficult entry into the rotational lift. And what I think, Ted, is so impressive is not just the speed, which is undoubtedly the most obvious factor in this team, is serious commitment to the expression as well. I thought Katarina was so focused.
I mean, look at that. She was just she was sizzling. It was amazing. And their performance is at 8.11 in the GOE. So they did reach an 8 in the high 7s for both composition and skating skills. Extraordinary level. Yes, we're at a junior Grand Prix, folks. So you can see it just above their head, but that certainly looks senior to me.
This could be the first positive or majorly positive reaction to scores that we've seen of the event so far.
Yeah, rhythm dance score 71.87, season's best. Obviously, he's clearly first. That is amazing. And there it is, full 10-point lead. That is well deserved. And it'll be very interesting to know from this team their approach to their dance, not just the dance, but how aggressive they are. Did that come out of their single skating skills? Don't know. Let's go to the next team.
Next team in their second Junior Grand Prix of the year, representing Turkey, Jillian Autumn-Prevert and Agahan Berk.Kol.
41.64. They were 22nd at the World Junior Championships last year, 19th at the Solidarity Cup in Gdansk. And they'll skate the rhythm dance here in Egna to a flamenco and tango.
From Turkey, Gillian Autumn-Puvert and Agahan Berk.call. And great to see, Ted, a team skate cleanly, skating back-to-back with the Czech team. Difficult to do following the success of that Czech team, but I thought this couple skated cleanly, skated well, and there's nothing wrong with the quality of their work. Good quality work, just not the same level of physical exertion, strength of stroke, deeper knee bend that we saw from the junior world record holders.
This was the top level that this team can produce at this point, and that was really, really well done. But when you put it in comparison with the Czech team, of course, you can see not the speed and the depth of edge, all the things that you mentioned, Mark. But for where this team is at, nice program here today. Well done.
Yeah, and I did think that choreographically, really good work. They've got John Kerr and Alper Ukar on their coaching staff who are brilliant, and I'm sure, knowing John as we do, he will have given them such wondrous information. They'll know how to be some of the best in the world with the information they're given, but there's nothing quite like being alongside other teams that are the best in the world to help motivate that information to be put into practice.
Yeah, and you can think, you feel like you're doing well, you think you're in really good shape, then you see a team ahead of you and you're going, oh, okay, so I need to do more. So then you take it back, and that's how you close the gap. But, those moments are never always happy moments necessarily, but they are critical moments because it's what drives you forward.
Enlightening opportunity. And this team, as they're greeted with John, their coach, in the kiss and cry, they haven't returned home since their first Junior Grand Prix assignment, the Solidarity Cup in Gdansk. They stayed in Poland. They trained in Torino with Sylvia Novak, who hosted them there. And again, just a bit more insight into the enormity of the life takeover that it takes to compete on this circuit. This couple haven't been back home for a long time, and kudos to them for going out and delivering here.
Yeah, you have to take that opportunity. You're in Europe, skate with other people, and close that gap of time that you need to hang around. Why waste the time going back home if you can? Stay here and train and get some more experience, of course, as we see John dancing to the music. Of course, he trains, I believe, in Miami, is it? He teaches in Miami? Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly, this team on their social media, Ted, they thanked so many people involved in helping them compete, and they even thanked John's wife for single parenting while John was absent to support them in their competitive pursuits. So appreciation was good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very kind indeed. Mm-hmm. And just recognizing that, as we say, it just takes an army to help any individual or team, because it's the coaches and the parents and the rest of the siblings and grandma, grandpa, and aunt and uncle, everybody involved, and their friends as well, in supporting them both emotionally and financially as well as they pursue a dream. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores. 43.52, that's a season's best, so that's good. And that'll put Gillian and Nagahan currently in the 17th place.
The final couple to take to the ice, representing Spain, Yerevan Ogor and Raul Bermejo.
And this is their first Junior Grand Prix season, second event, 21st at the Solidarity Cup in Gdansk. 32.73, the personal best. Spanish waltz, tango, and paso.
the familiar sound of Carmen to close out the rhythm dance competition in the final Junior Grand Prix of the series here in Egna for Yerevan, Igor and Raul Bermejo.
And you can see there's a young developing team based on the skating skills that we saw, and especially the midline step sequence. But really nice ending, strong ending of the program. And the midline step in at level 1, the level 2 and 4 for the Twizzles. So, you know, starting out, gaining experience here. And I know, as you've mentioned several times, that there's nothing like learning from watching your competitors. And you are only coached by words, and those words you have to interpret and put it into action, and it's complicated at times. But watching your teammates or your competition, wow, it's 1,000 words.
Oh, absolutely. Thousands, millions of words, and you can see the progress for Yerevan and Raul from their first Junior Grand Prix, and they'll be delighted to have got through the rhythm dance here cleanly because they had that horrible fall in the rotational lift at the end of their program in the Solidarity Cup. So more fitness, more run-throughs will have been done for the team since that event in Poland to help secure a stronger finish, as you see here. More ice coverage also, not just a clean skate with a rotational lift at the end of the program.
Yeah, and their seasons in personal best, 32.73. So I think they're going to destroy that score here. This is much better. And you can see they're quite, okay, this is the happiest couple. And they can cry all day long. And they haven't even seen the scores yet. So, and here are the scores for the rhythm dance. Season's best, 40.37. And not of approval by everyone in the kiss and cry. And that'll put Yerevan and Raul currently into 19th place. A great job. Well done. Well, Mark, just a quick wrap-up. Your thoughts?
Well, delighted to see that the junior world record has been broken yet again by the Czech team Katarina Mrazkova and Daniel Mrazek. Disappointment perhaps for Hannah Lim and Yi Kwan, the winners of the first Junior Grand Prix of the series, who find themselves in 4th place after the rhythm dance, but they have a wondrous free dance to look forward to tomorrow.
As we look at the standings, and they're going to have to battle their way onto that podium if they want to get to the final. So it's going to be a very tight and exciting competition indeed. And that concludes our coverage of the rhythm dance here in Egna, Neumark. Up next, in about 30 minutes, the men's short program. For all of us here at the ISU, I'm Ted Barton along with Mark Hanratty. Thank you for watching. Make sure you stay tuned for the men's short program coming right up.